Howdy y'all, my name is Chuckles the Clown, and welcome back, or welcome to my Arlington preview. I haven't done this for the first couple races. It's something I used to do and I wanted to bring back. So let's get into it. This is the inaugural race at Arlington. I'm going to start off with, we'll get to the fun facts or my areas to watch out for on the track a bit later. I want to start off with the betting odds because I have them pulled up. So they're very interesting. If you want to make a lot of money, or really if you don't want to, Kyle Collette and Stingray Rob are both 501 odds. So you bet 10, you win 500 or $5,010. And Kiffin Simpson's 101. This, if I was gonna bet, I'm betting on Kiffin Simpson, and I will get into that later. Kiffin Simpson is a good talent. He's proved he belongs at Chip Ganassi Racing. That would not be money poorly spent. Mid pack, VK Rahal Hauger, all 50-1 odds. Rossi in Rasmussen 40-1. Hell, Felix is also 40-1. Those are good odds. But Alex Palou being 7-4, and Kirkwood being 7-2, McLaughlin 11-2, Pato 7-1, Newgarden 8-1, Lundgaard 10-1, Dixon 12-1. I don't necessarily agree, but this is what the odds are saying. Dixon, I'd say, in the top range is your best bet. He wins. Scott Dixon will win. Not necessarily this weekend. I don't even know if he's in my picks. But just know, Scott Dixon is not a bad racer. He will give you a good shot to win if you do bet. Now, I know a lot of people do, so I wanted to start this off with my very brief betting advice. Obviously, the last street course, Pato, or not Pato, last time we ran on a street course, you had Alex Palou winning at what's it called, St. Petersburg. And then you had Scott McLaughlin second, Lundgaard third. You had Kirkwood battling up there during times. You also had Armstrong up there. IndyCar is in a weird era of street course racing where you have a lot of different comers and goers. You don't get this in other sports. So just because you bet on someone doesn't mean it's not going to happen. You look over across the pond to F1 street courses. There aren't really comers and goers. The only way for someone to go is for them to be wrecked out. IndyCar, you could just happen to fade, and that happens a lot. And now we're going to another high-speed street circuit, one with more twists and turns than most, which, to everyone dogging on the DC track, yes, this is a better track. But also, you guys are going to complain about anything. Everyone in the comments of the IndyCar post, showing the photo of the completed track, being like, this is just a poor man's Miami. It's a better Miami because IndyCars are racing on it. Which means there's going to be passing. And I just think the circuit looks way better. But speaking of that, we're going to get into my turns to watch out for. So, hopefully, on your screen now, I will have a track map up. I just had to put something in my notes. So, we're going to go around the circuit first. The 1, 2, 3 quick connect off the start finish line is going to be rough. Then you have a decent straight over to turn 4, which is going to be high speed on that straight. I think heavy braking into a tight left-hander, and then a sweeping turn 5 which brings you back into a long, sweeping, basically an oval turn of turn 6, into another tight 7-8, and then what's going to be a rough turn 9, but then a long straightaway, to a tight 10, quick 11. Same with 12 and 13. I think those will all be fairly high speed corners. Then you get into the rough one of 14. But now I'm going to break it down in a bit more detail. Get down and dirty with it. So, I marked the 1-2-3 combo, like I said at the beginning. The run off of turn 1 is high risk into the barrier, even with that runoff into turn 1. So they have a runoff at the end of turn 1. There's no runoff for 2 or 3, which I think is very interesting. And later in the run, or even if we have an early caution, at that point, I think we'll see it with that pit blend being right there, a double lane pit lane, which is something I'm starting to like. I think I'm really starting to like it. But after seeing it in Detroit, and I hate the Detroit circuit, the one thing I like there is the pit lane. Because they're able to put it in a better, more central part of the track. And I think double file is going to make it to where you're going to have a lot of different blend. You're going to have 13 cars on 13 cars on one side, 14 on the other, all shooting out into turn 2 with field coming through there. Obviously, they're not all going to pit at once, but still. So that blend is going to be hard, and like I said, only the runoff into 1. We're obviously going to see on the start 1-2 cars go off into 1, probably some contact, beating and banging there. But with it being 2 90s in a row, and then third is a bit tighter than a 90, that's rough on the driver. I mean, that is tough. The next one I've marked is the horseshoe, so turn 6. I mean, that sweeping, you take a right-hander into it, and then you have to immediately switch to a left-hander for a long turn. It is a turn out of an oval. I mean, that looks like the skinny end of Gateway. So I think that it could be a prime opportunity for some passing, but what could be rough is, well, that it is like an oval and that you're making so many turns so quickly. And then I predict cars going off into 7 after the shoe, because I think they're going to hold high speed through 6. I think you'll see a lot of cars push the limits in 6, because that is an area very early in the lap where you can hold a lot of speed. Luckily, they have a runoff in 7, unlike turn 8, which is right after. In 7 should still be fairly high speed because it looks pretty twisty and rounded off. 8, however, looks to be like a straight straight 90. And so I would watch out for that turn. And it holding, like I said, a lot of high speed. 9, I don't think is as high risk. And then 10, after that long straightaway, it is 0.9 miles. And so I think that is going to be a rough one. Like I said, no big concerns with the rest other than 14 to being a sharp right-hander. I have it at roughly 120 degrees if I had to guess, with how it's a perfect 90 into the pits, but 120 around onto the front straightaway. I mean, that is 3 turns in 1 turn. And with the pit lane being double-sided, which means traffic can get a lot closer and a lot closer to the exit of pit lane, which once again brings me back to that 1-2-3 combo of drama. And no matter how many people are going to be annoyed at a double-sided pit lane, I think just the optics of it, and I would love to go to a race with the double-sided pit lane just to sit and look and watch all the drama unfold that close to each other. Um, but then we're gonna take a look at Indy next. Just a quick thing. Indy next starts at 11 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday. That would be 12 Central, or not 12 Central, 10 Central. Race should be around mid 70s, maybe about the 80s. And I think this is much watched racing Sunday morning. Being the second event this year, it's only second. We still don't know who is really going to be up there in the fights. I think obviously you could say, well, the podium at St. Pete and it's another street circuit, and this is the closest street circuit we can get to another St. Petersburg. And I'd say, yeah, you're right. With how much land control they really have here, but I will also say that it is very different. And I think that, and I don't hope this, I want for some good racing, but I think that we're going to see another timed race on Sunday morning. Just because of how these street courses treat Indy next. And then a quick news section, and then we'll get to a larger breakdown for my picks to win. Heading into this weekend, we heard that Connor Daly will be in the 23 car for Dry Ryan Bolt Racing, which for me raises two questions. One, how many other teams will be willing to bring a third or fourth car, Prima depending? Will we see Ganassi prop up that fourth car? Do we see, obviously we're not going to see a Penske, but do we see Rahal continue to bring Sato? Will Andretti bring, what's his face? Colton Herta? Do we see a Juncos? Or do we see a AJ Foyt Racing bring another car? If Prima isn't there, do we see two Chevy teams bring another car? Obviously, you have Ryan Hunter-Ray racing with McLaren, but right now we only have 30 cars entered. Will we get more? But I do want to say, I don't think that anything will be announced until after this weekend. So either with in the weekend or in the week heading into Sebring, maybe the week heading into Barber. I'd say that's less likely, or the week after Barber, that Monday, Tuesday would be a great time. You're heading into a long break where focus really starts to be put on the crown jewels, on Long Beach, Indy Grand Prix, I guess. But I wouldn't really say Indy Grand Prix is a crown jewel right now. I mean, it's still important, obviously. You gotta respect the IMS, but I want to say it holds. I think it's mostly overshadowed by being at the IMS, and I'll have a video talking about IndyCar crown jewels more in depth. And of course, my second question being, do we see two different teams run the same sponsor in a weekend for the Indy 500, which would be the first time in years? I can't remember the last time I saw it. And I don't mean like, we're going to have two Ganassi cars both running Target or PNC. No, I mean like Dry Ryan Bolt and Juncos Hollinger Racing could both be racing at Arco AMP and car. Maybe with some Union 76 in there. It is interesting to see, and I cannot wait to see both sets of paint schemes. Obviously, it is a paint scheme fanatic, even though I've been not as good this year about getting them out. Still, I do my best. And another bit of news, latest linguist has reportedly talked to two teams, from what was said a front runner team and a mid pack team, about returning to IndyCar in 2027. Those teams were not reported, but he also apparently talked to a manufacturer And that leads me to say and guess he was talking to Meyershank Racing and Honda. And I think he has the best shot of getting in that Meyershank Racing Honda seat. Um, because the connection to Chip Ganassi Racing, obviously Honda, and he's a driver that wants to be in the sport and has the skill behind the wheel. There are a few other drivers that I think are competing for this, but I don't think we'll hear anything about that until uh, probably around DC, maybe a little before or during the 6-month off season. And now let's do a quick weather break. If you're looking at the forecast and accidentally saw what it's doing Monday or saw the low for Sunday where it's going to be about 37, I think, in Arlington, Texas, don't worry. That is late at night. That is the midnight temperature. For green flag in IndyCar, it's going to be roughly about 83 degrees. Or really 74 to 80. Partly cloudy, 0% chance of participation throughout the weekend, but very high winds. I think I saw 23-mile-per-hour winds, which is going to be crazy, and why I think that turn 6, in particular the horseshoe high-speed turning, is going to be more at risk. Indy next, obviously at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and IndyCar at 12:30 Eastern Time. Indy next on FS1, IndyCar on Big Fox Network. And then one more thing. Practice starts Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Watch it. Find a way to watch it. Listen to radio. This is going to be big. I think if anything is going to have some big incidents, that'll be Friday. Because it'll be Friday and obviously Sunday during the race. But Friday, they have nothing until, I think, about 10 a.m., 11 a.m. the next morning. They will have plenty of time to fix that car up if it gets damaged. So you will see drivers putting it in a bit of risky situations just to see what it can do. Okay, now my picks. We're going to go for my disappointments. First off, we're going to go Scott McLaughlin. He hasn't had a great start to the year. He hasn't had an awful year. Or actually, he has had a pretty good start to the year, I should say. But this Team Penske team is not the Team Penske of old. I don't see them being super strong here. I would love to be proven wrong with all my picks. But for my disappointments, I pick front runners who I think have the best shot of having a poor weekend. I also picked Louis Foster. He's not necessarily a front runner, but on these street courses, he is. And let's see where he finished in St. Petersburg. Obviously, we know he wrecked out last weekend. And I mean, right now, Louis Foster's sitting in P20 with a P14 at St. Petersburg. I think Rahal, Letterman, and Lanigan has taken their foot off focusing on these street circuits and are focusing more on natural terrain road or just road courses in general, which is very interesting because they're good at street courses in the IMS road course. So when we get to the IMS road course and Barber, it's gonna be interesting to see how good they perform there compared to years past. So yeah, that's my reason for picking him. And Pato O'Ward, even though he's high in points, right behind McLaughlin, I don't know. Something else is telling me this may not be his weekend. I think most of that is with how hard McLaren is pushing the Arlington race. And I follow, I think, every team, on my personal at least, Instagram. And I haven't seen any team posting about it more than McLaren. I think part of that being they have such a big fan base there from F1 racing at COTA. But now let's get into my Sleeper picks. Willpower. I think it is a make it or break it weekend for him. He either go out there, you do good, you get a top 5, maybe a podium, or you go out and have another DNF or another wreck, another incident. And street courses may not be as forgiving as Phoenix. Can't believe I'm saying that, but that's the era of IndyCar we're in. I picked Kevin Simpson, and I will keep saying this, and that's why I brought him up earlier with the predictions. Kevin Simpson is good. He races. He has not won yet, but I see him as a podium driver. I could even see him scoring a pole this weekend. Obviously, that depends on Ganassi's speed, because they have been a bit up and down, really, even with off-season testing. But as Limp Bizkit said, you gotta have faith. And I personally am not a Ganassi glazer. I like the drivers, but I like all drivers. I hold 2 drivers higher than anyone else, and yes, that is Scott Dixon. That's Rinus VK, because I like the guy. But I've also been very critical of all these teams in the past. That gets me to my next sleeper pick, which is Rinus VK. VK is good and consistent. He's been, I hope nothing more than he has a great weekend this weekend, more than most, to stop the criticism off of last weekend's incident, which is not on him. But I'll not get into. I won't get into that again. And then for my picks, I'm gonna throw in one honorable mention first. Scott Dixon. What more can I say? He wins. Second winningest driver in IndyCar history, second most championships. If anyone can do it, especially if it is the crazy race that it will be, or that it has the very high possibility to be, Scott Dixon has the best chance of winning it off of fuel strategy, because he's the best strategy driver combo. Maybe not the best driver anymore, but we do get to see a bit of classic Scott Dixon every now and then. Also have Kyle Kirkwood for his amazing performance on road and street courses. Sorry there. Like I was saying, Kyle Kirkwood for his amazing performance on street courses specifically. And Pato Ward, not Pato Ward, Alex Palou. Because he is Alex Palou. He's the surgeon. They got to beat him first before I can start dogging on him. So yeah, that's going to be my picks. Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to say a quick thing. I think we will have about 4 cautions, maybe 5 in the race. It isn't a long race, it isn't a short race necessarily. But if you look back to Nashville, if you look back to Detroit, this map is a lot longer, a lot wider. I don't think we see as much issues as we saw at those 2 debuting tracks. This track and DC track, as we will see later in the year, I think are more thought out than those. No matter what people want to say about DC, they are making these tracks more now to not be a wreck fest. Yeah, you see some of these turns in Arlington, you're like, man, that's just going to be a crapshoot. Specifically for me, 14, 1, 2, and 3. But I think also a lot of these drivers that were having those issues on these courses are now maturing more, and we're having more experienced talent coming in as the sport is regaining its popularity, which is different compared to where we were when Nashville was debuting or when Detroit's new circuit debuted. So yeah, Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. Saturday, new Retro Bowl video at 6:30 Eastern Time. No Indy Next on Saturday for me because of the circuit we picked for the big INDYCAR series. But INDYCAR for me debuting at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, around the time of the green flag. Do not watch it when it comes out. Wait a few hours. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. Thank you all.